Hey everyone, this is Carbonite, bringing you another standard match. Today we have myself on the left, actually playing my Set 9 Magnolia list, which I think is actually pretty decent. Like, I think this is the best Magnolia has been in quite a while. Anyways, on the right, we are going to be having Julio playing his Granfia deck, another new deck from Set 9. Well, a new deck from Set 9. Technically, Magnolia is from Set 1. And the start decks, but you know, whatever. Anyways, we're gonna be seeing the Battle of the Animals today. I'm obviously gonna be going first, just going to be taking this first damage, which I think is probably a mistake. I honestly don't have enough experience against Granfia, even though I have the deck myself. But I really should have guarded that, because usually Granfia can really rush on the grade 2 turn with a bunch of tokens. But anyways, we are going to be seeing me riding into the lattice here, calling out a trigger, which is pretty typical for anyone who's ever played Magnolia. 9 times out of 10 you always get a trigger somehow. But anyways, we're just gonna be swinging, putting the crit into soul, just because like there's other things that you want to be in the center, back, or rear guard, so might as well put into soul instead of just overcalling it. But as we are going to be seeing here, we have the little flower girl, which I never bothered to learn the name of, even though I have 4 copies. Come on down, call 2 more plant tokens, and then we are going to be seeing the best card in the game, Mr. Burrow Shrooms, coming out swinging for 11. I was really hoping for a defensive there to shut down the rest of this turn, but unfortunately it's not going to be happening. I'm going to decide to guard the flower attack and then just take the Vanguard, because I only have 15, and 1 to pass would be even worse than just taking it. So anyways, we're going to be getting into my first grade 3 turn here. So as you can see, I do have my drop zone pretty well set up. Some of the lessons that I learned from playing Maelstrom, just like putting the inland to pulse just to revive it, is definitely something I'm utilizing here. And here we are seeing a little bit of the power of the goat. So your Magnolia, when it's placed, it puts itself into the soul from the drop zone, and it gives your Vanguard an extra 5k. Now you can, since that is an on place, you can soul blast the goat again for Lattice's cost, so that it's set up and ready for you to use next turn, which is just really good. And it also makes it so that you can revive it off some of the revival cards that I'm going to be playing this turn. Anyways, we are seeing the Sayroll come down and searching out a grade 3 Magnolia. I didn't mention it before, but this is a Persona Ride variant of Magnolia, which personally I think is just so much better, because Magnolia, the grade 4, is very slow. I mean, sure, you get triple drive, but instead you lose out on the extra 10k that you get to the entire board, because obviously Persona Ride gives it to Magnolia itself, and with that Sayroll, your back row is also getting that power. Anyways, we are going to be seeing one of the one of the old cards, I should say, that I've been playing into this deck, which is Wild Intelligence. Just milling 2 triggers there and a PG, which is a lot of the reason why people don't like using Wild Intelligence. I've come to terms with the fact that it's fine, just because, I mean, think of it like if you were soul charging that instead, like, would you care? Would you care if you soul charge that? It's just the price of doing business in my eyes, especially since you get to call 2 things in this variant. Anyways, we are seeing another card, Mr. Daimanaru, which I think is very good for getting the goat out of the soul, and also enabling like 4 attacks, and letting you spread the power around everywhere. As you can see here, I'm getting 5 attacks this turn, thanks to that Daimanaru. It's just gonna be hit with a 2 to pass, even though my Magnolia is at 28, which is a very nice magic number. But of course you do have the front. So we are going to be just boosting the Sayroll, because it can't attack this turn, attacking into the Vanguard. He hits a draw trigger, so this goat is actually going to be swinging for a nice 25, because this goat, every time it attacks from the back row, gets plus 10k. And if it's in the center rear guard, you can retire it and draw a card. So it's basically another copy of Inlet Pulse Dragon, as we're going to see here, me also using that other Inlet Pulse Dragon to draw another card. So honestly, this deck has no soul problems at all. But we are going into this turn that's going to be very scary for me, mostly because I don't have a PG in my hand at this time. And I know what Granfia does. It swings. If you know what Granfia does, it swings with 2 super massive columns, one of them being the Vanguard, of course. And if you don't have a PG, you have to kind of tank those attacks or commit a lot of cards from hand, because as we're going to be seeing here, the little pumpkin man, he's going to come in, do more tokens. I believe that's 5 now, because we had the 3 earlier that got sucked up when you create the Noble Rose token. And we're going to be using the Burrow Shrooms here, putting it into Soul and getting 2 more tokens. So that's going to be 7 tokens in total. Winning that Rose is getting plus 35. So that means it is a 40k booster. So the Vanguard is going to be swinging for a easy, simple 53. Just a casual 53. Anyways, but the one issue with Granfia is that, as you can see, we don't have many cards in hand. So we only have 5 there and basically an empty board. So even though we do have a lot of token generating cards, they kind of just end up turning into minuses, where normally they're intended to be like pluses, because you're literally just calling tokens. Like we see a Burrow Mushrooms here. Normally you would get 2 more rear guards, but instead they're all going to the gauge, which is, I guess, one of the weaknesses, that you commit so many cards into like empty value for Granfia, even though they do turn into like power. As you're going to be seeing right here, we're actually calling a Persona Ride. Probably don't have anything else to call, in all honesty. But swinging that rear guard, 13, just going to be hitting with an intercept. This pumpkin is actually going to be at 18, because we use the 2 copies of Burrow Mushrooms, which, since you're on Granfia, do give an extra 5k to your one of your units. And so this Vanguard is going to be swinging for 53. I kind of just have to hope he doesn't hit a crit, which unfortunately we do see here. And because if he hits that, I am going to have to hard guard this Pumpkin Man, who's going to be at a very big number, especially with that critical trigger. But thankfully, I do hit into a draw trigger, so I'm actually going to be able to probably survive this, because this pumpkin is now plus 25, plus 10k from the burrows, and plus 10k from a trigger. So that's a total of 53 swinging at my Vanguard, which is thankfully at least at 23. If I did not get that trigger, I probably would have died here, as we're going to see me guard for 58, 2 triggers and a 5k guard. But thankfully, going into this next turn, I am in a very good position. I have a lot of good setup. I'm going to be Persona Riding into my Magnolia, and thanks to that say roll, my Persona Ride is going to be going to not only the front row, but the back row as well. So kind of deciding what we want to do here. Obviously, since I placed the Magnolia, I can use the Goat skill to put into Soul and give my Vanguard another 5k, meaning that's going to be swinging for a clean 28. So you're actually going to see me overcall the Goat. The reason I did that is because I have the Wild Intelligence, and I want to be able to revive a Goat. Unfortunately, milling the over trigger there, and another Persona Ride, the Persona Ride Order. But obviously I didn't know I was going to mill another Goat, so I just wanted it there in case. So just deciding what I want to do. So I'm considering the Daimanaru, even though I have another one in hand. But I think in this situation, the better play is to go for the Goat, because looking at Julio's hand, he doesn't really have a lot of cards. He has that 115k shield and not a whole lot more. But anyways, so I am actually going to be calling the double Goat, because double Goat gets plus 10k no matter where it is. Using the Daimanaru to give an extra 5k to the center one, which means that Magnolia now doesn't have to give the extra 5k to all 3 of the back row, because that one in the center can already attack, which means I'm probably going to be giving it to the Daimanaru, which means with his own skill, since he was selected by a Vanguard skill, he does actually give himself another 5k, going up to 30. So going to be swinging the Inlet Pulse, which is, funnily enough, the least powerful unit here. Just swinging into the Vanguard for a nice 23. Now that I'm thinking about it, a better play might have been to move the say roll up, put the Inlet in the back, and let the Inlet get an extra 5k so that he gets to 28, which is a much better number. But, you know, obviously hindsight. But anyways, that 23 is going to be swinging. We are only at 3. However, I do have the full 6 attacks this turn since I did Persona Ride. So definitely very scary, again, especially against a deck like Granfia, which doesn't really amass that much advantage in general. Obviously seeing a critical on my side and a PG. So that crit's gonna be going to the goat in the center, which is already at 25, 35. Now it's gonna be hitting for 45. So just like really big numbers off of one trigger. I mean, it was 35 already, so it's there. Well, both the goats are 35. So this is pretty good big numbers. So gonna be swinging the goat. Actually a little bit of a misplay because I should have swung the sterile first because it's technically smaller. But obviously it doesn't matter because he's not going to be getting a defensive. Swinging the goat, Sayroll, not getting a defensive, and with only like 3 cards in hand, we're not going to be able to guard these last 2 attacks. So that is going to be it for the game. I hope you guys enjoyed. Do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.